Lesson 41. God goes with me wherever I go. Today's idea will eventually overcome completely the sense of loneliness and abandonment all the separated ones experience. Depression is an inevitable consequence of separation. So are anxiety, worry, a deep sense of helplessness, misery, suffering, and intense fear of loss. The separated ones have invented many cures for what they believe to be the ills of the world. But the one thing they do not do is to question the reality of the problem. Yet its effects cannot be cured because the problem is not real. The idea for today has the power to end all this foolishness forever. And foolishness it is, despite the serious and tragic forms it may take. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow and pain and fear and loss, because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of its allegiance to them. You can never be deprived of your perfect holiness because its source goes with you wherever you go. You can never suffer because the source of all joy goes with you wherever you go. You can never be alone because the source of all life goes with you wherever you go. Nothing can destroy your peace of mind because God goes with you wherever you go. We understand that you do not believe all this. How could you when the truth is hidden deep within, under a heavy cloud of insane thoughts, dense and obscuring, yet representing all you see? Today we will make our first real attempt to get past this dark and heavy cloud and to go through it to the light beyond. There will be only one long practice period today. In the morning, as soon as you get up if possible, sit quietly for some 3 to 5 minutes with your eyes closed. At the beginning of the practice period, repeat today's idea very slowly. Then make no effort to think of anything. Try instead to get a sense of turning inward, past all the idle thoughts of the world. Try to enter very deeply into your own mind, keeping it clear of any thoughts that might divert your attention. From time to time you may repeat the idea if you find it helpful, but most of all, try to sink down and inward, away from the world and all the foolish thoughts of the world. You are trying to reach past all these things. You are trying to leave appearances and approach reality. It is quite possible to reach God. In fact, it is very easy because it is the most natural thing in the world. You might even say it is the only natural thing in the world. The way will open if you believe that it is possible. This exercise can bring very startling results even the first time it is attempted, and sooner or later it is always successful. We will go into more detail about this kind of practice as we go along, but it will never fail completely, and instant success is possible. Throughout the day, use today's idea often, repeating it very slowly, preferably with eyes closed. Think of what you are saying, what the words mean. Concentrate on the holiness that they imply about you, on the unfailing companionship that is yours, on the complete protection that surrounds you. You can indeed afford to laugh at fear thoughts, remembering that God goes with you wherever you go. Lesson 41. God goes with me wherever I go. Jesus opens this lesson with a statement so absolute, so direct, that if we truly accepted it, our entire world would change in an instant. God goes with me wherever I go. Let's sit with that. If God is everywhere, then he must be in everything, and if he is in everything, then where could I go that he is not? That means no place, no situation, no circumstance, no experience could ever separate me from God. So why do we feel so alone? Why do we feel abandoned? Why do we feel lost? Jesus doesn't sugarcoat it. He says, depression is an inevitable consequence of separation. Think about that. Not just depression, but anxiety, worry, helplessness, misery, suffering, an intense fear of loss. All of it comes from the belief that we are separate from God. And here's the key. The belief in separation is a belief, not a fact, not the truth, a belief we hold on to and defend. And in our desperate attempt to escape the suffering this belief creates, we have invented countless cures to try to fix what we think is broken. But cures is in quotation marks because they aren't real cures. The cures we invent for illusions. Look around the world. What do we do when we feel lonely, anxious, or afraid? We seek therapy. We take medication. We chase relationships, thinking someone will complete us. We chase money, thinking it will bring security. We chase status, thinking it will give us worth. We seek religion, thinking if we follow all the rules, we'll be saved. And while these things may bring temporary relief, they don't cure the problem, because they don't question the problem. And here's the mic drop. The one thing we do not do is question the reality of the problem itself. We never stop and ask, is the thing I think is a problem really a problem? The woman who was fighting shadows. There was a documentary about a woman who kept telling stories of being attacked. She would come home bruised, shaken, terrified. Every time she had some story about how she barely got away from an attacker. People believed her, until one day they found surveillance footage of one of these attacks. They played it back. And there she was, swinging at nothing. She was swatting at the air. She was hitting herself. When she saw the tape, she stared at it and said, "If that's me on that tape, then I'm crazy." And that's it, isn't it? That's what Jesus is telling us. We think we are fighting real problems. We think we are escaping real threats. We think we are battling real suffering, but we are swinging at shadows, and then, after exhausting ourselves fighting an illusion, we turn to God and say, "Fix this." But what are we asking him to fix? Something that isn't real. The trap of real feelings. Now here's where people get stuck. They say, "But my pain feels real. My suffering feels real. My loss feels real." And they're right. It feels real. Just like a nightmare feels real. Just like when you're dreaming of falling and your body jerks awake as if you actually hit the ground. Just like when you wake up in a cold sweat from a terrifying dream, heart pounding, breath racing. In that moment, it's real to you. But when you wake up, you realize it never happened, and that's what Jesus is telling us about all suffering. The pain feels real because the mind believes in the dream of separation, but it isn't real because separation itself never actually happened. We never left God. God never left us. We are fighting illusions, and the only cure is to wake up. The power of today's idea. Jesus says, the idea for today has the power to end all of this foolishness forever, and foolishness it is, no matter how serious or tragic the form. Let's pause there. Serious and tragic forms. That's a phrase that catches people off guard. Because how can Jesus call suffering, war, loss, death, things that seem so painfully real, foolishness? He's not dismissing the experience. He's exposing the illusion. He's saying, I know it looks real to you, I know it feels real to you, but you are dreaming. And if you wake up, the suffering disappears because it was never there to begin with. And here's the truth that shatters the illusion. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow, pain, fear, and loss because it will heal the mind that thought these things were real and suffered out of allegiance to them. We suffer because we are loyal to the lie. We have pledged allegiance to fear. We have pledged allegiance to guilt. We have pledged allegiance to suffering, and the moment we stop swearing loyalty to the illusion, it dissolves. You can never be without God. Jesus makes it clear, you can never be deprived of your perfect holiness because its source goes with you wherever you go. You can never suffer because the source of all joy goes with you wherever you go. You can never be alone because the source of all life goes with you wherever you go. Nothing can destroy your peace of mind because God goes with you wherever you go. This is absolute protection. Nothing can touch what you really are. Nothing can threaten you. Because God goes with you wherever you go. The practice. Now, Jesus says, we don't believe this. Of course we don't. Because the truth is buried deep within, under a heavy cloud of insane thoughts, dense, obscuring, and yet representing all we see. But today, we begin to break through the cloud. Morning practice. Sit quietly for 3 to 5 minutes with your eyes closed. Slowly repeat today's idea. God goes with me wherever I go. Make no effort to think of anything. Sink inward, past the idle thoughts of the world. Imagine sinking below the noise, like drifting down into a peaceful ocean. Try to reach past the illusion and approach reality. Throughout the day, use today's idea often. Repeat it slowly, preferably with eyes closed. Think about what the words mean. Concentrate on the holiness they imply about you. Remember the unfailing companionship that is yours. And finally, you can afford to laugh at fear, because God goes with you wherever you go. Final thought. If you sit with this, if you really take this in, your whole world will begin to change, because you never left God, and God never left you.